Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Jewish Divorce Project. I'm your host, Noam Rauscher.
And I'm your host, Leeron and
Join us as we kvetch
and kvel about Judaism and divorce from our perspective as two Jewish professionals and two divorce coaches.
and two Jewish parents with lots of experience and plenty of opinions.
And here we are, episode 69. And today's a special day because it is Noam's birthday.
An auspicious occasion. Ooh, look at that.
Ooh, Craig's excited too.
That's what you get in the big studio.
Mazel tov.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Thank
I'm
you.
very honored to be spending your birthday with you here, and all our listeners get to be with you on the actual day of your birth.
Yeah, it feels
How
that way.
you
I think
feeling?
this is actually, according to my star chart, since we're in Los Angeles, my star chart, I think this is actually the time by which I was born. It was election day, and my mother was going to actually vote, and so she was working at that time too. So she went in the afternoon because she had to work while pregnant with me, right, and also caring for an older, another child as well, walking around, and there was,
You were
that's
ready.
how it happened. She went to vote,
Wow.
and clearly I approved.
What was she
I don't reveal those types of things
like to
because
know.
I don't like to get political.
This is true. We should not.
But the point is to say that, like, I came out on an auspicious occasion. There have been a number of times where things like election day have fallen on my birthday, and it's sometimes it hasn't quite really been the type of birthday celebration that I've wanted, and other times it's
Because of the election?
yeah, well, because like the somber mood of things,
Yeah.
and but that's generally separated from it.
Okay.
What I did realize recently, though, is that like 11/6
Mm-hmm.
is 9/11 upside down.
Wow. Way to... Always a downer, man. Wah, wah. You're ruining my vibe.
I know how to kill a mood.
Damn.
Let me tell you about this time.
It's your birthday. I mean, even our topic
I'm
today, you were
metaphor-
interested in guilt. Of all things to talk about on your birthday,
The guilt.
guilt. That's what he wants
I
to
have
talk
no
about.
guilt about what I just shared in terms of the realization. But it's not, so it doesn't really matter. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, thank you. I appreciate what you said about my birthday. Thank you. And Craig, thank you for the applause. It was very sweet of you. It's 44. It's a wonderful, wonderful time to be alive. And more and more I think about it, like, it was a real difficult time going through divorce, and you don't really have a lot of perspective in that. You haven't gone through anything like that. And gradually things have been coming back together, which feels really good. And so, the progression, hopefully going along that way, keeps moving in the way it has been, and that will feel really good too. And, having gone through all that stuff early on at the beginning of my 40s, now that I'm 4 years into it, right, it's a different thing.
Yeah.
It
This
really
is your
is.
last year before you're officially in your mid-40s.
Thank you
Right?
for bringing that to my attention. I
And
wasn't
So that
interested in
just
knowing
means that
but
this year you
since
got to
you've-
go big.
obviously felt the need to remind me about it. This year I have to go big.
I'm gonna do it because you're older than me by like a little bit.
So
I'm turning 44 this year too.
Oh, so I'm the old man.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Come on now.
Well, fine. Fine. I have to go big this year? You mean when I celebrate my birthday, like when I turn 45?
No, like this year.
This
coming
year
up,
itself,
What do
365.
you feel is going to be like? What's the thing that you want to conquer? Like, what's something in your life that you're excited to continue to improve on, and you want to be like going into your end of your
Yeah.
44th year, being
Uh,
like, hell yeah, I
yeah.
did it.
I hear, yeah.
What is it?
So I really liked how the pandemic carved out this space for creative time. And I feel like I've been missing that. Obviously, this podcast is a result of it. And so continuing to keep this going has been wonderful for me. So thank you again for that. But so for my birthday, I bought myself a package of pottery classes over at the Pottery Studio. And they have a couple locations around Los Angeles. I should get them to sponsor us now that I think about it, since I'm talking about it so much. But the Pottery Studio. And I went last week. And since it was my birthday today I was building up to it. I took a note from your book, which is to say, like, stretch your birthday out a little bit, celebrate the whole week leading up, right? You
Yes.
deserve it. So I did, and I went on Wednesday last week, and I'd been wanting to do this for so long. It was getting to the point where it was like virtue signaling on my point when I would go on dates, because I'd say, like, look at me, how cool and creative I was or am, and I wasn't following through on it, and I felt lame about
Okay.
it, but I sincerely wanted to do it. I really did, and so here I am now, and it felt really good to, like, finally pursue this creative endeavor. And the great thing about it is that you go in and they give you the code to get in. They work you through the basic steps of it in the class. And they say, like, look, you guys are welcome to come throughout the day if you want, anytime during the week. And we always have play available for you. And if you want to, if you want to make sure that uh, uh, you have to keep the space clean, obviously. So we're going to teach you how to clean everything and keep everything nice and tidy. And you got to be respectful of the space. So it's been, and then, like, learning how to do the clay molding is an incredibly humbling experience. There's definitely a sermon or two in there,
Yeah.
right? The clay's mastering me more so than I'm mastering the clay. But it's such a great zen and chill environment. Like, I go and I put my headset in and I start playing with the clay, and then I put it on the wheel, and and I've been failing. All I've been making are terrible bowls. Like,
That's
they're
okay.
disgusting. Like, they're not
Yeah.
even good ashtrays.
So this is are you gonna give me a vase for my birthday in July?
Yes. Well, I let my friends know, be
Can that be
aware
the
that if you're listening, since I'm going through this hobby right now, this endeavor, you're going to be getting a lot of gifts that I
I love
make.
it.
And not all of them will be good, but they will be original pieces. So at some point when I make it big, you'll say, look, this is ugly, but it came from someone beautiful.
Oh.
And I think that's a real humble thing of me to do, is to give my
Yeah.
beautiful art away,
Yeah, you can
even
make
the
some
ugly
really
stuff.
beautiful Chanukias maybe, or really ugly Chanukias.
I don't think I can make a Chanukia on a spinning wheel. Maybe it's possible, but
Oh, you're only working on the wheel? That's the only
this is
kinda play
ghost
you're doing?
stuff,
Okay,
right?
okay.
And
Wait, so
understand
wait,
that's the
I need to interrupt right now. Thank you for sharing the spiritual aspect and the creative healing you're getting, but are there any cute women, like, at this place? I think you're gonna meet someone here.
I'm not gonna lie, right? There are attractive women there, but that's not why I'm there. I'm
I
really
know,
not, and I
and
don't want to turn you into that
that's
environment.
why the women are gonna love you because you're
Okay,
not there for that.
okay.
I'm not trying to stick that in your head, I'm just putting it out in the universe.
Thank you for putting it out in the universe. I'm really going, like, if I get distracted from this, I'm gonna be frustrated. And if there's a woman that seeks to distract me from this, know that, like, we're gonna have problems. It's not the right time. This is because,
This is
like,
your own time.
This
I'm
is
sorry, I didn't
this
mean to
is
ruin
this
it.
is me dating
Okay,
me,
okay,
right? I will not cheat on myself here.
okay.
Okay.
Then you just
Um,
tell the universe I am not going to meet
you
someone
in
when
this
I
universe, you in this universe are like besties. What
Yeah.
messages has the universe been sending you as of late to be
Oh my
so
god.
aligned with it and promoting of it? Get the universe to sponsor the podcast, okay?
Well, I'll tell you, the universe has
Hello,
been
I'm the
sponsoring
universe, and
my
I could
life.
easily work with you for a low monthly rate of $95.95.
No, it is priceless, mister.
Okay.
There is no price to be put on that. No, okay. I know you make fun of me, and I don't know if it's because you're a rabbi and is the universe against what you believe? Because I'm supposed to say God, not universe, right?
The cosmos?
It's different.
What are you
This is
suggesting when you
different.
say the
The
universe?
universe. When things align in a way that you almost can't explain it. Like,
Okay.
right? I mean, I had this day on Friday. I had 3 different coffee meetings with these kick-ass women, all different ways that I want to work with them to build this solo mom community I'm building. And I decided I was gonna wear heels, which I never wear, and I just decided I want to be a boss bitch that day and go to all my meetings. Right? So I'm walking up and down Magnolia, and I scattered them here in Burbank, all like different coffee shops, so I could just walk from one to the next. I was early to my final meeting, and I walk into one of my favorite boutiques, and the owner is like, "You need to try on this dress." Da 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 da. Next thing you know, we're hanging out. I'm trying on her dresses, her own designs over at Audrey K. Why are you laughing at me? Why is he laughing at me?
I'm not laughing at you. I apologize. I'm laughing with you. I'm celebrating you and your boss bitch
I'm
moment.
telling you. She then starts talking about, what are you doing these days? Da, da, da. Next thing you know, we're planning an event together,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
On how she knows how to help women figure out how to dress for their bodies and how to embrace their bodies and dress right. I mean, it was amazing. Then I go across the street to another store, and I happen to walk straight in and see this book, which I might be giving it to you as a birthday present. It was a series of 3 books called Tantric Dating, Tantric
I don't need those books.
Relating, and Tantric Mating.
I don't need those books. I'm telling you, I don't need those books.
I know you don't need those books, but anyways, I found them fascinating.
Good.
Find out the
Keep them
author
in
is
your library.
local.
Have
We're
them
going to do
sponsor us.
an event there. Anyways, it was just
We're
one
going to
of
do an
those
event at that
days.
library about that book?
No. You're not listening to me.
What are you
You
saying?
tuned out the second I said universe. I'm done. Craig, remind me not to talk about my amazing moments where shit goes down for me.
Rude of me. It's rude of me. It's
You
rude
are
of me.
being
This
very
is
rude.
obviously look. Obviously, feel connection. Obviously, you feel a connection to something greater than yourself. That things are working in a flow state for you.
Yeah.
That are consistent with what you've been hoping to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think? I'm asking you seriously. Do you think that these are random, or do you think these are a result of the choices that you've made because of other choices that you've made and steps that you've taken to set yourself up in certain ways?
Yes, both. I do think that I'm doing the steps to get what I want.
Mhm.
But I will tell you this, when I'm in a mode of focusing on what I don't have and what's not coming my way, and I'm not putting any positive energy into it, shit doesn't happen. And I've just seen it prove to work for me over and over again that when my mind is ready to attract what I want and I really can focus on what I want, you can call it manifesting, you can call it laws of attraction.
But why do you think the universe cares if you've got positive energy to give it?
When you are giving that positive energy, the universe gives it back. All right.
No, I'm actually laughing at myself now and thinking about what kind of energy do I put out there?
I know. I
don't
have a
think
guest
it's
I'd like to bring on our
positive.
show that's gonna teach us about this, about the laws of attraction. So I do. Is this a general thing again amongst the rabbis that are like this?
That we don't put
people
out
who listen
positive
with the
energy?
laws of attraction and shit. It's all.
What?
It's all. It's all just what. I mean, what?
What are you talking about?
Do you have an issue with me talking? Not issue, but do you think it's silly to talk about the universe?
Like, is it Avodah Zarah?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Idol worship?
Yeah.
To talk about star alignment and all that stuff?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I did say that, like, according to my star chart.
Okay, but I'm just curious more of like the rabbi's perspective, not you as a person.
Look,
You can't speak for all rabbis, obviously.
I'm willing to bet from a Kabbalistic perspective, there is a Jewish way of referring to what you're talking about. I don't know what it is necessarily. I know of a lot of different names for God. You're talking about, I think what you're talking about is, I don't know if what you're talking about is God. Are you talking about God? Are you talking about like it as some type of energy force that runs through the world?
I believe it has to do with energy.
Do you think it's like Star Wars, the Force?
No,
Okay.
I think we need to move on from this topic.
What? Oh, because you've strayed into waters that you don't feel comfortable talking in. Now that I'm asking serious questions and taking it seriously. It's okay for you to say that you don't believe in God, that you have no connection with
do
God. And
believe
it's
in
much
God,
easier
but-
for you to have a connection with something you feel like that
Yeah.
actually gives something back to you. I mean, that's what I do find to be fascinating about this conversation. And if we're going to talk about modern spirituality in some way and how it can be useful in our lives, because I do hear a lot of what you're saying over social media and in other conversations with people, particularly in the coaching world, right? The universe gives back to you what you put in, right? It's a great way of also, I think, in some ways, lightly at smacking at people who aren't naturally, like ebullient and positive, like me, right? Who are somewhat depressive, like me, right? The Eeyores of the community who
Yeah.
are somewhat, stereotyped or at least stigmatized for just being Debbie Downers all the time.
Glass half empty.
Yeah, come on. I mean, there's a certain reality. Like, part of it is that, like, we're in tune with the real world, okay? And we see how things work, and we're just generally saddened by it because it never really meets our expectations. That's a natural way to be. It gets to be a lot of times, and then you have to step out and take a note from your people's playbook, which is to say, no, 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 come on. The sun will always rise, right? It's always going to be there, and it's always going to be a beautiful and bright sunny day, depending on how you look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's helpful from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you see like a lot of the other things that are going on, it's not that helpful. At least from my perspective.
It's a little hard right now with all this shit going on everywhere.
Right.
To continue to stay positive.
Well, see,
but when those moments do happen, when you have
God.
the moments of like you see a sign, or when these moments happen, I think it's just important to acknowledge them and recognize them as well.
Signs is a very interesting concept. A very, very interesting and subjective concept. What kind of signs are we talking about, my friend? What is a sign that indicates to you that the universe has given back? Please speak of this spiritual exchange that you have had.
I think it all comes from up above. I think it has to do with angels up in the sky. I think it has to do with people in your grandparents looking down on you. I think there's all of that. That's where I think everything's coming from.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. I can appreciate that. I've had deep connections with people in my life who I love, who have passed on,
songs that
who are
come
still,
on, and
yes.
the moment that you hear it, and you're like, oh my gosh, or you say the word love, and you look down, and there's a heart-shaped rock on the floor.
There's been a series
Those are
of
signs.
kind of more than coincidental events for you.
Yes.
Can I have an example? Did a song come on?
Yes, this happens to me all the time.
So
oh, come on.
That's the whole point of this. What song has come on?
Okay, I'll give you an example. I was on a date. I was with a guy that was into.
We were talking about professional stuff.
No, this is not professional. You wanted a sign. I'm going to tell you a good sign. You said about a song. You
Fine.
asked me about a song. I'm
Fine.
sorry. The song is not professional related.
Okay, let's hear
Come
it.
on.
Let's hear it. I'm sorry. I apologize. I've been controlling, and that's really not the way I should be at all in this. I need to be listening. I'm sorry.
It is your birthday, though. So
Granted, a little bit of leeway. Thank you. Okay.
You just feel like being a little bit of an asshole on your birthday. That's okay. I'll take it.
It will be my guilt-free birthday as a way of teasing up
it.
what our conversation is going to be after the commercial. We're supposed to be talking about guilt, everyone, and I have a great joke that I'm going to let everyone hear. You've heard it before, but nonetheless,
let's move on.
Fine.
No,
No, but what? No,
not
you're
even
not getting out of. You're not getting
Okay.
out of the season.
So we were walking back to. We were in the marina. We were doing everything in our power to just keep this a hands-free platonic type of a date. And as we're walking down to the boat,
Mm-hmm.
we walk by a Trader Joe's,
Mm-hmm.
and the song blasting is "Rock the Boat, Rock the Boat." Leah, come on. That is not somebody being like, you need to get busy with this man right now.
Do you
Someone's
think
looking out
that
for me,
song
my
is
grandma.
playing on a loop
No.
in the marina?
Nope. I've never heard a song like that come out of Trader Joe's.
Did he say anything about it while on the
We
date?
both looked at each other the exact same time. So yeah, it was like we both were like, whoa, crazy.
Okay.
That
All
is
right.
one
I'll
of
give it to you. I'll
many-
give it to you.
One of many things like that have happened. So I'm just saying.
Okay. Well, here's a joke for you. Knock knock. Knock knock. That's not even a knock knock joke. What am I doing? I'm screwing it up already. How many Jewish mothers does it take to screw in a light bulb?
None.
None. I'll just sit here in the dark. Don't worry about me. It's a good way to introduce that we're going to talk about guilt in divorce land right after this commercial break.
Gina Feeds Catering has been creating beautiful and delicious food throughout the Los Angeles area for over a decade. This local Jewish woman owned business has been recruiting volunteers and is raising money for the soldiers in Israel by selling her famous chicken matzo ball soup. You can buy a deconstructed soup that feeds 4 people for $36. They even freeze well so you can stock up for the winter. To place your chicken soup for the soldiers' order, you can send a DM on Instagram to Gina Feeds Catering or email Gina at ginafeeds.com.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Zoned out there for a second. Still getting used to this wonderful new dynamic that we have. But here we are talking about guilt in divorce land. I don't know if you've ever experienced guilt in any particular ways in divorce land, Leeron, but for me, uh, they can be particularly difficult moments.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think we're just raised with Jewish guilt and all of that, so it's kind of comes natural as well.
um, I know for me, I'm just going to put this out there that I think I feel, uh, and obviously this requires really addressing, but um, an underlying sense of guilt about the divorce, about the fact that just for my kids, they don't have that, you know, the normal family structure that so many other kids have. Now, normal obviously is a really interesting word when you think about how many families are divorced. But like that kind of runs through a lot of it, and I've needed to learn to like recognize when I get um, triggered by that guilt about, and it's related to something else,
Mhm.
and knowing that like with the bar mitzvah coming up, and just kind of like how it's obvious,
Mhm.
right? Like people know it about our family, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of is what it is.
Yeah.
Now there are also wonderful things to think about in the sense that like it could go really well, and that's what we're striving for, and we're working towards that actively, me and my ex. And if it does, then it'll be a beautiful story. I kind of resent the fact that like that's even part of the wonderings of it, right? Because you
Maybe
don't necessarily worry about that when a couple is married,
yeah.
right? When you're up there,
But you
right?
know what you do when you're getting married? You're marrying that person saying, "I wanna be with this person for the rest of my life." You're putting out
Yeah.
that
Hmm.
is what you want. So maybe instead of sitting here and thinking, "I wonder if it's gonna be okay," or "What if it's not," or "What if it's this?" You just kind of how would you want it to be, you know?
The
I
bar
mean,
mitzvah.
yeah, the outcome is like, I would love for us to just make it through and be friendly and everybody, that was what when
Yeah,
I
but that's
literally
my
was like, my
but that's
goal
my
is to
point.
stand in the bima and not want to punch each other in the
But
face.
that's my point. I think there's like when I sit back and I think about the energy used for something like that, right? And the fact that like that has to be part of what we consider the planning and the strategy of doing a bar mitzvah during divorce. It's I feel like
E-
a resentment rooted in guilt, that like I've created that scenario for myself and for my children.
That this even has to be an issue right now. Yeah, I
Right?
get that.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was just thinking about the guilt of like the hardest part was really, really in the beginning. I had such a hard time doing anything fun when the kids weren't around. That was really crazy, and I just found myself having to, like I mean, now I get it, and I embrace that fun big time, but, like,
Hmm.
I couldn't even be around, I had a boyfriend at one point,
Hmm.
if it was his weekend and we were hanging out with his daughter,
Hmm.
I felt so guilty doing anything fun with her
Oh
instead of my
yeah,
own kids.
yeah,
I
yeah.
was like, "I don't like this, I don't
I
like
can see
hanging out with
that.
other people's kids." Like, that was interesting.
I can see that. I felt a little bit of that when I was driving to my teaching job last year. All great
Mhm.
kids that I was teaching, but it was also like I'm dropping off my kids in a hurried way in the morning, and I don't really get too much of a chance to them to spend 8 straight hours with these kids. And then I got to come back after a long schlep in traffic to be with my kids, so I'm in a terrible mood. And then I got to spend like good quality time with my kids there, or at the very least put dinner on the table for them.
Yeah.
It's and then and um the times where I couldn't meet that standard at a minimal level, I felt terrible guilt, as I'm sure a lot of parents do,
Mhm.
because you just want to be able to do right by your kids and you feel like you're not, and getting adjusted to the fact that it doesn't need to be perfect and it doesn't even need to be close to what you conjure up in your head. You just need to think creatively about what really, takes care of what needs to be taken care of.
Mhm. I think another interesting layer of guilt that we have in divorce, sometimes we don't even really acknowledge and it's just there. I think that in my situation, my ex did not want the divorce and I did. And for so long after, he would remind me,
Mm.
like, if something was hard for him, it was because I was the one who did this to him.
Right.
And so in the moment, I'd be like, no, I just had to be the stronger one, and da-da-da, and I'd have all the right things to say to make me not feel guilty, but I definitely felt it got to me. It's not
Right.
like I hate this person. We
Right.
built a life together. I felt, yeah, his the course of his life's changed, as did mine, but
You didn't feel
there was a little bit of that guilt was there underneath because you feel
of
a
asking
feeling
for the
bad.
divorce.
Yeah, feeling bad that his life is
Ad-
challenged now.
right. Adjusted dramatically.
Yeah.
What about for the kids?
Well, yeah, I mean, major guilt over the kids, but to be honest with you,
It's
I
so,
feel very strong that us being apart is way better for the kids than us being together.
it's
I
so
really do.
it's so funny. I'm sure you've seen this on social media that a lot of the messaging that goes out for women is very much you made the right decision for your life, you made the right decision for your kids, that sort of thing. And it, that's such like a easily adapted um message, that it could, it sounds like to me when you think about divorce, right, that like someone was really in trouble, right?
Yeah.
Whereas you hear so many stories of women who are just like, you know what, we lost the flame.
I I don't think yeah.
That's
I don't
terribly
think
reductionist, right? Like
yeah.
I
Yeah.
can't.
Well, did you hear like the most recent they were I heard it's like 80% of divorces are initiated by women now.
It's now 80.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
But I can tell you what I'm seeing a lot of is women who have just had it. It's not the like, "Oh, I don't wanna be together, we lost our flame." It's
Mhm.
just they've gotten to a point where women are just more empowered to not settle for a life that doesn't bring them joy. They're doing so much self-care, there's so much out there, there's so many ways to grow and have personal growth, and, I just think that women are kinda like,
It's so
let's
interesting.
let's either make this work or not. I
I,
think more so than men, where I think sometimes men are a little bit more tolerant with it not being great, but it's okay and it's good enough and we're happy and we have a little sex, but not enough. And I think men just might be more tolerable
right, to the
or we'll
normalcies
just
of
cheat.
American, domestic life. It's entirely possible. I'm always fascinated by the statistic of, originally it was 70%. That's what I was quoting. 70% of all divorces that are initiated by women. Now it's 80%. That's interesting. Um, I'm just always kind of curious about that, which is to say why. And I think so much about previous generations how women were very much limited to the household, and all the pressure they had to kind of keep it all together in that way, and how so much of that time and need also limited their full expression of who they wanted to be, that they
Mhm.
got married at a young age and were, they were considered disappearing women, right? That they
Mhm.
just were only thought about as mom or wife, and
Yep.
that was it. That was their only identity. And there was always this approach to like sacrifice yourself for the sake of the family. And it seems like a lot of that has changed to be more about like, if your needs aren't being met, right? And if that is limiting your health in some ways, your spiritual health and well being, right? That it is limiting who you are, then something needs to change dramatically in order that to happen. If it means sacrificing the family so that you focus on self,
Yeah.
And I don't even like the way that I'm saying it because I feel like it makes it sound like a real selfish thing, and
No,
that's
no,
not what I'm
no.
trying to
I
say.
understand what you're saying. I
What I'm trying to
mean,
say is the
yeah.
flourishment of the individual is what aids in the full development and the health of the family. Is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
That ultimately, it was the family's health is what comes first, and I think what we're saying now is the health of the individuals comes first because that will ultimately be what's healthy for the family.
Yeah, and everything you're saying, yes, and it's different. Things, everything got so much more expensive to live. Most families, both parents had to work. I mean, a lot more. I mean, we got married right when the recession hit. So even if I want,
2008.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, there was a point where I was the one that was able to work, and he wasn't, or he, and so I think a lot of couples, those roles kind of changed, and at one point maybe she was working a little more than he was working, or because and just things changed, and I think that for many men it might have been hard when the woman at the time was a breadwinner, or the woman was making, was
Mm-hmm.
they had to keep up with the household, but they didn't. So then she ends up doing both, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the resentment gets started. And
Mm-hmm.
they don't feel as needed or necessary. But then it's like if the roles reverse, then it's hard to even adjust back to that. I think that that's just been, yeah, I think it almost made it easier when it was a given that the woman stayed home and the man went to work.
Right.
You know, but
Clearly
that's not
defined.
the given anymore. And, when I was a preschool director and I got to see so many families, and especially in Burbank, so many men were like creatives and worked from home, and
Right.
maybe the woman worked. And so I saw a lot of dads bringing the kids to school, doing the lunches, a lot of stay-at-home dads. Um, so I just think sometimes that role reversal may have contributed to women. If a man feels emasculated, he's
Act
not gonna
emasculated.
look very masculine.
Uh-huh. What you're saying is men lost their mojo.
I think some men lost their mojo, and I
Uh-huh.
think some women were like,
Because they were becoming stay-at-home dads, and that wasn't attractive to women.
not because they were becoming stay-at-home
Oh,
dads, but because the women were working and doing the houses, and the men became a
we're
little bit
contributing that
irrelevant.
way.
They
Oh,
were at least
interesting.
fucking their wives and they were friends.
Sure.
Maybe then
Yeah.
it would have made sense, but
So what you're saying is, okay, so that I
I'm
can buy
seeing
a
a
little
lot
bit
of
more that like,
situations where the men have become irrelevant, or they are controlling, not doing the work, but then being controlling, whether it's financial or, verbally, or not hands-on enough with the kids, or,
the
that's,
gap in domestic and emotional labor is still very apparent, right? It's you know, go to those moments where like Obama's president, racism still exists, right? And even with feminism and the equality out there, right, there's still even in the homes, right,
yeah.
of some of the most
But the families that I see, my friends that I can think of that have really great relationships, the men are cooking also. They're true partners. I mean, I have some really awesome guy friends that I know that I grew up in high school, and I'm like so impressed at how equal they are with their wives. And they have really good relationships.
hmm
Both are working, both are taking care of kids, but I mean, they're just like a team.
hmm Well, good for them.
That's what
Wonderful. They should
works.
write a book.
That's what works.
There is some great literature out there.
Yeah.
Fair
Well,
Play is one of them. It's a great book that I'm reading right now.
okay.
It's all about just like bridging the gap in the domestic and emotional labor and home. And the idea is that you got to make it a game because nobody really wants to do the labor, right? I mean, some people do want to do the labor, but the point is to say that like you got to divide it up if you're a team, right? That's what
Yeah.
partnership is about, and it should be a building block between the two of you, not something that causes you to butt heads and separate from one another.
Yep.
We were supposed to be talking about guilt, though.
Well, there's another
That's a good way to pivot from this.
there's another
Is there
form
any
of
guilt you
guilt.
experience? But that's what we were talking about. We were
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about divorce, right? And so, it does the idea of like needing to focus in your life alleviate the guilt that you might feel about having done this to your family. That sounds accusatory.
Mhm.
Made the decision to divorce.
Yeah. I feel that in our situation, I just was the one who pulled the plug.
Right. Had to be done.
It had to be done.
You don't think you could have
I was
gone
the one
through
who
it?
did everything anyways around the house. This was just one more thing I had to do. I mean, yeah,
Wipe the counters,
it's
take out the trash, put the kids to bed,
filed for
file
divorce.
for divorce. Wow, that's cold. That's cold.
Sometimes the woman has the bigger balls when it comes to making those decisions.
Well,
I
now that we've
mean,
been talking about masculinity,
I don't
yeah, I
know.
completely agree. So okay, so that's guilt free. Maybe there's something to be said about that from a coaching perspective that you offer guilt free divorce counseling, right?
No,
Have a
I
guilt free
it's not
divorce
guilt-free.
experience. Hmm?
No, it's not guilt-free. I have plenty of guilt.
I mean, I have guilt over the fact that like clearly some of the decisions I made in marriage were not helpful to my marriage and my relationship, which contributed to my ex's right
Yeah.
wanting to file for divorce. Uh, so
I've just really gotten to a point where I just feel that the guilt really doesn't serve anyone, honestly.
I don't
I
know.
really try to like
I don't know about
when my
that.
kids are at their dad's, I make that my day. I take care of myself. I get my nails done. I do all the things I need to do so that when they're back, I feel energized and ready
Okay,
to be
so
mom
that's a different
again.
thing altogether. But let me just say that like guilt can be helpful in making atonement for things, particularly if you
Yeah,
feel remorse over
you're
the
right.
things that you've done, which is a deeper level of guilt. But guilt can help you, right the wrongs that you've created in certain circumstances. I do believe that divorce has made me a better father, and I certainly hope it makes me a better partner to someone in the future. Having gone through this, having certainly known what it is that I lost and what I don't get to experience now and what I certainly want still in my life, right? I know, and I wish I hadn't gone through divorce to learn this. And I still wonder if there are other friends who are this much aware. But my point is to say that, like, I hope it's an experience that teaches me something because then that guilt will be alleviated, right?
It is.
Then,
You know, it is an experience. You've learned so much. You know,
yeah,
you've learned so
yes, you're right. But it has to be put to use, I think, is what we're saying,
Yeah.
right? That's
Well,
the process of tshuva that we're talking about. From a Jewish perspective. You want to do something about the guilt that you feel, right? We'll address it head on. Take responsibility for it, right? Find out what its root cause is. Ask yourself if you've also really done wrong. Like, there's no point in worrying about it if you haven't really done anything wrong.
yeah,
And
yeah,
maybe it did work out for the best. So you
yeah,
have to, like, if there's nothing you can really do about it,
yeah.
moving on is a real helpful kind of thing to do because just dropping it seems to be the best move.
I have a real life
Okay.
situation from this weekend
All right.
with some guilt,
Yeah.
in a different way. So whenever it's the kids' weekend with their dad, one of the days they're always at the grandparents and the cousins come and they get to see all the family. And I was doing that too, right? So it was like, but if you think about it, it's only every other weekend I have, right? So I end up usually using up one of those days with family because I get the Jewish guilt from my grandmother
Yeah.
of like, I need to see the kids. You don't bring the kids. And this past weekend, they both were like, "What do we have this weekend?" And I was like, "Ah," and they're like, "Can we just do nothing, please? Like, we just want to be home. We just want to play video games and we just want to chill." And I realized in all of the trying to, you know, appeal to everyone else's guilt they were putting on me, I wasn't listening at all to the kids. And I don't know that they would have asked, I don't know if they've asked their father the same thing of like, "Can we just chill?" But I really was like, "This is what they need," and I listened this weekend, and it was nice. I can tell that they just I feel like we're doing things, we're seeing family, we have plans. They need that.
Do you have any guilt that's particularly Jewish guilt? That is to say, guilt you have related to Jewish things in their lives?
Um, like I feel if I didn't do Shabbat dinner, like or light the candles with them, and like a few Fridays have gone by, then I'm like, I don't feel like a good Jewish mother right now. No.
Like, do it all the way, or just not some of the steps?
No, if like we didn't, because sometimes we're rushing out to football or this or that, and like I'd like to be able to light candles and do at least
Something,
something before we leave the house.
right? You feel
So
a little, oh,
feel guilty when I don't do that.
oh,
Like I'm not giving them the Shabbat experience of any type. That
sure.
yeah,
There's something to be said, though, about the quality time that you are spending with them,
yeah,
like, as
yeah,
being
yeah,
as part of the purpose of Shabbat.
yeah.
You don't get to light the candles. What if you got, like, I apologize, I'm trying to fix this. This is a very man thing to do. But, like, what if you got, like, electric candles that you kept in the car? And you
Uh,
and you
we're
use the same?
not that observant. That's pushing it.
Wait,
No,
I just totally. Wait a second. You're
that's too
telling me
much
you're
for me.
not lighting the candles before going to a football game on Shabbat, right? And you feel guilty
I'm not
about
gonna keep them
that.
in my
And here I
car.
come up with a wonderfully creative solution, and you go, "Hold on, Rabbi, we're not that observant."
I'm not gonna mobile Shabbat candles. I don't know. It's a nice
So what you're
thought.
saying is you don't feel any guilt whatsoever.
Maybe you've changed my mind.
As you really think about it.
No. Well, tell me what's your
I mean, I certainly affording Judaism is difficult. It really is.
mhm.
Um, and so constantly asking for scholarship is a humbling experience. I don't necessarily feel guilty about asking for the help.
Okay.
It took me a while to get to a point of being okay with asking for the help and being as honest as possible about what really I needed. And I want to give them more, um, but it's hard. Affording things in the Jewish community is difficult. The cost of Jewish education, I honestly would love to be able to give them good private Jewish day school education.
I'm gonna echo that.
Can't afford it.
Yeah.
Like even if I taught, couldn't afford it.
No.
And the divorce has got me limited. Let me be more articulate about that. The divorce has got me limited to Pasadena, really, in terms of where I live, and I'm not going to move the boys out just for a job in Los Angeles or something like that. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So it w- wanting to provide to them more in that way, uh, from certainly from a place of security, right, leaves me with a sense of feeling guilt, and certainly, am I doing enough,
Yeah.
for something like that, right? I wish that I could afford more for the divorce, right? Not for the divorce, excuse me, for the bar mitzvah, right? I can't, and so we're trying to work it out in a way that's manageable for everyone. Um, I so I try to make it up with other experiences, right? The
Yeah.
quality time, the helping him practice, right? Reading his Aliyot and writing his Dvar Torah and helping him understand what all this means and studying his portion with him so that he can kind of inform his Dvar Torah with his own wisdom about what he's learned. Um,
So the guilt is basically just highlighting what you wish you could do.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
It's a matter of if you're going to let it really beat you down and make you feel like shit, or you're going to look at it more as something to maybe strive for. And in the meantime, you're doing all these other things that are
yeah,
amazing to keep it
yeah,
going,
yeah, yeah.
and then the guilt doesn't have to be something that's weighing you down and harping on you and to the point that's really I think it after divorce, you're already trying to like not be depressed. You're trying to get yourself back to who you are, And so the guilt is something that I think instead of letting you be something that wears you down and maybe brings the worst out in you, letting it just be you know, just a marker of like, oh, that's something I wish I could have.
Yeah.
I wish I could do that better, you know.
What I
I'm
do
just
appreciate.
thinking of this as a way to like I don't think it's healthy to sit in it too much,
No, I couldn't.
especially when you're in a place of trying to grow and move forward.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah,
Dwelling
so
in it isn't helpful to
but like
anyone.
you said, it's not a bad thing. It's a
No.
it's something that is a feeling you're
Yep.
having.
Yep.
Why you're having this feeling? What is it bringing to the surface? But then, like you said, so I'm going to do what I can. My kids I have it so all the time, their friends have like nicer clothes and nicer things and we have
Yeah.
we have
There's
neighbors that
that
come
too.
down on these like electric bikes and all this shit and I've heard the kids say things like, "Well, our mom can't really afford that." I feel like shitty that, but on the other hand, I'll tell them, "You want that? Go ask Saban Safta or wait till Hanukkah or they
Yeah.
know that we're all about the necessities and I don't think I'm gonna create bad kids.
For some reason, my kid asked me if we could buy like sweets and if we could make cookies for his classmates, and I was like, "Why?" It's a nice thing to do, but why do I need to spend money on that right now? And I realize it's just cooking mix. But like, yeah, I am trying to save some money. So like, why do I need to spend the
Well, at
time to go
least he asked you to make cookies and not go like buy
buy the
some
cookies?
cupcakes or
Right,
something.
that's true. But no, but I hear what you're saying, right? And spending on the necessities is really important. I've been in exactly that same boat.
Yeah.
I really have been.
But you know what? It's creating so much understanding and compassion in these boys. I actually love
I
seeing that they're
agree.
stepping up. I love that sometimes even the older one will remind the younger one, he'll say like, I want, and then my
Do they
older son will
ever
be like, come on, like,
do they ever worry that you're poor? Like
mm,
my kids have worried that I was poor because I didn't want to spend money on certain things. I said, "No, we're not poor.
yeah,
Okay, you don't have to worry about anything like that. We're not going to be homeless.
yeah,
You, hey, you're getting new clothing on a regular basis, or at least when you need it, right? Seasonally.
yeah,
You have all your needs taken care of. There's hot food on the table, right? You guys go to summer camp. Okay, like you're not poor. Okay, you enjoy all these wonderful
yeah,
things, right? But it is important to save money and not spend it on things that we don't need to spend it on,
yeah,
right? We go grocery shopping so we can make our food at home rather than constantly going out and eating and ordering it in, right? It's save money that way. Um, and it's there's a push and pull with things like that. But I also have found myself that I do say a lot to them. You guys have bank accounts. If there's something that you want, right? Think about spending your own money on it if you
hmm
really want it that bad, or think about saving your money. That's probably much more a valuable thing to do right now.
yeah. I think that in general, the kids are just. Uh, oh God, I had something I was going to say and I totally
You
spaced.
blanked.
I blanked.
What does the universe tell
Give
you?
me a second.
Send her the message. Send Leeron the message.
I looked at my laptop and I saw a message and it distracted me.
Can you give me an echo, Craig? My microphones for a second.
No,
Oh, you have no. Ugh, I
you
was
do
gonna
yourself
call out
that.
to the universe and respond. Universe, are you there?
There was something you were saying about the kids and the money and
Wanting to afford more for the bar
oh,
mitzvah.
you were talking about do they think if they ever felt we're
Poor,
worried about being
poor,
poor?
right?
No, but during the pandemic, when they saw me like stressing out about money and
Sure.
everything, they were a little bit like, and they saw me, I was really impulsive. So I like lost my job, was the divorce finalized, I was home, and I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to move to my parents' house. Like I immediately freaked out.
Mm.
And I sold the one thing I should have never done. This talk about
The
guilt.
house.
No,
No.
we had in our
Jeez,
backyard,
what am I? Uh,
not the
oh my
house.
Zoltar? Supposed to predict what you were gonna say?
We had in our backyard one of those gigantic swing sets with the tree house and the twisty
Wooden
slide.
things.
Yeah,
Uh huh.
which was given to us by a dear friend
Uh huh.
and built in our backyard, and it was amazing. And I was so hungry for money that I sold that thing for 15. Someone came and took it apart and gave me cash of $1,500,
Did
which I then paid my rent.
right?
And my son Liam at the time was 5, and he cried every day, "I want my swing." You think I knew we were gonna be home all that time? The parks were closed, and I sold the one thing they could have been
Wait, so
playing
was this
on.
guilt or more kind of like,
Oh my
oh,
well,
I
this was like
fucked
the
up?
stupidest move ever, but I had so much guilt that this poor kid would
I don't
cry
think
for
that
his
qualifies
swing
as guilt.
set.
Well,
Yeah.
well, maybe it does because
Regret.
so
This
regret.
is a
But here's the
feeling
thing.
of
But
regret.
but guilt's also about like a moral thing that you've done. Remorse again is a moral thing, but much
You're
deeper,
right.
right? An extended kind of relationship with
So this
it,
was regret.
right?
I have to say, more so than guilt,
Yeah.
the feeling of regret when I think I made the wrong choice in any way hits me real hard ever since divorce.
Regret?
Yeah.
Why?
Um, well, my therapist helped me understand why, but I feel like I don't want to make the wrong choice.
Uh,
I think that I was
oh, again, you mean? Oh, certainly, yeah. Yeah,
so
yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah,
I know exactly what you mean.
yeah, so afraid of saying yes to the thing or no to the thing or just
Hmm.
missing out or
Hmm.
yeah. But
Hmm.
anytime I did something that I felt regret about, that like I would literally wake up in the middle of the night. I like lost sleep over the fact that I sold this swing set and that the kids could have used it so much for this pandemic, and
I think that was just more about the choice you made than less about the actual swing set and the usefulness of it.
well, it affected my son and how sad he
I
was.
mean, I could definitely see that as
It
being a
made me
constant
like,
reminder. Like every day, you're like, "Oh shit, what am I going to do with the kids? I wish I had a fucking swing set
yeah,
here
and then
to
he's
occupy
crying, I
them."
want my
And
swing.
all they need to be is outside, and he wants a swing set. Did you buy another one?
I bought a well, at
Above
that
ground
point I was
pool,
like, no, we're not going to get a swing set. I got a tetherball.
right?
Did I tell you
Which
about
is
how
now,
the
for
pole?
Halloween,
Yeah.
a skeleton pole
Now
dancer.
she's been put away. Heather Tether, we decided to call her.
Oh, awesome!
Heather Tether will be back. Wait, I didn't tell you.
Raising the level of
No, I didn't tell you what
conversation.
happened on Halloween.
Yeah,
It was amazing. So at the end of the night,
yeah,
I'm sitting on the porch. The kids are all inside. I had a speaker out there, so
yeah.
I was playing music around the.
Okay.
This huge group came that were all they were all holding their drinks, and they'd been walking around with their kids all night. Their kids were older, like middle school. They all come closer, and I just decided to like play a song right when they stood in front of the pole.
What?
Like I need a good like stripper
Worried
song.
about this one.
I did. She's my cherry pie. They all stopped. All the moms
Why?
came walking over,
Why?
dancing around the pole. The dads were all sitting there watching their
bet they
wives.
were.
The kids were
I
like,
bet.
"Mom, stop."
Why? Why?
It was so entertaining. They all started requesting songs. Each mom had to turn
Why
around
is
the
it when dads do
pole.
embarrassing things for their kids, it's usually telling like a dad joke, right?
It
In
was
public.
hilarious.
And like for you, it's like women dancing around a skeleton pole dancer.
It was like the corner on the it was amazing. It was amazing. And all the dudes. Oh, and then one of the women was like, "You got to play this song." Put it on. He looks up and he just goes like, "Oh no, I know what she's about to do." It was amazing.
Okay. Well, listen, we've talked a lot about guilt and some about regret, which is fine. This is a wonderful conversation. Let's also just say that having too much guilt can have really negative psychological impacts on oneself, and you should see a therapist if you are overwhelmed by guilt and paralyzed by it. And again, asking yourself if there's really anything to be guilty for, right? You could think of yourself like Joseph and his brothers. They were laden with a lot of guilt. And when they finally saw Joseph that he was okay, right? Some would say that they started crying out of relief to notice that like the actions that they took actually led to Joseph's success in some ways, even if that moment they couldn't think about it, and even if it did come from a nasty place. Um, wasn't necessarily a good thing to do, and they should certainly address that why
Mhm.
they did it. But to feel a sense of relief from guilt is okay because maybe what you did wasn't so bad after all, and you shouldn't be laden with that type of grief. You should seek to alleviate that, and that can come in a number of ways after you determine the source of grief, right? You can seek to alleviate it with a lot of different types of self-reflection, take responsibility, you can make amends with people. Hopefully all of this, seeking forgiveness and even practicing self-compassion in certain ways, can help you find growth and development and personal evolution from knowing that like, oh, maybe that wasn't something I needed to worry about so much.
That was beautifully said.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm good every now and then.
Yeah, I was a little mesmerized there for a minute.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
That was good.
Nice.
Um,
Excellent.
guess what? As much as
Chicken butt.
it's been fun riffing with you
Yep.
these last couple of weeks,
Yep.
we have a guest next week.
We do?
Yes.
Ooh. Okay, let's hear it.
Yeah, we have Nathaniel Neubauer.
Mm-hmm.
Are you excited to chat with him?
Yes, that's right. Nace.
Mm-hmm.
Nace. Right. I was wondering about that. Excellent. I'm
Mhm.
very excited to chat with him.
Yeah, we're gonna have a real live Jew talking about his real life true story
Of
not
divorce.
of divorce.
It's also interesting too because we rarely have male guests. Like if we've had a male guest, they've been a rabbi of some kind. So this is really nice that we have a guest who's a guy
Mhm.
because, and I will say onto that, most of our guests are women. There aren't a lot of men involved in the
I think I'm
divorce.
gonna make him this my mission. Find us more male
Wonderful,
guests.
bring it. But so it's wonderful that we have a male guest, and particularly also one that's just of a guy going through divorce, right? He's not a
He's
divorce
been through
professional,
divorce. Yeah.
right? He's not a lawyer or anything like that, right? You know, this guy is a real great guy, real down to earth guy, and that's the point of the conversation is to have it with someone who's not coming at divorce from a position of I do this for a living now,
Yeah, no,
right?
I
Or
just and he's he's his story is inspiring. I'm excited to
right.
to hear from him.
So am I. Thank you for
Yeah.
setting it up.
Yeah. exciting.
Very cool. So, with that, friends, if you're experiencing guilt from anything that you're going through in divorce, maybe that's from the divorce itself, maybe still related to the loss of family
Mom
or
guilt.
mom guilt that you've had, right, from being a single parent. If you're experiencing guilt in what you can provide to your kids, maybe from a dad's perspective. But nonetheless, if you're experiencing guilt in some way, reach out, right? And don't be alone in that and share that with us in our community. Or reach out to Leeron and I in some way. And we'd love to talk to you about it
Yeah. And once again, happy birthday.
very much.
Yeah. Wish you a great year ahead. All right. If you're interested in becoming one of our sponsors or have questions and thoughts about the podcast, please email us at thejewishdivorceproject@gmail.com.
And you can always find us on social media at the Jewish Divorce Project on Facebook and Instagram.
And if you'd like to work with me, I specialize in divorce coaching for women. I can be found at mydivorceconcierge.com and on Facebook and Instagram at mydivorceconcierge.
And if you're interested in working with me for divorce coaching or spiritual coaching, I work with people of all kinds, of all backgrounds as well. My email address is noamrauscher@gmail.com. That's NOAMRAUCHER@gmail.com. And you can also find me on Facebook and on Instagram at Noam Rauscher.